we're going to call Julia Steggerda-Corey, who is a professor. She's a legal writing professor at Drake University for 7 years, 8 years. And now she's at the University of Maryland Law School in Baltimore. And she's a legal writing professor. And so, as you know, or maybe know, I I have to have two guardians ad litem assigned to my children, which I requested the first time. Um, I had a hearing uh, in 2024 fall, and my attorney Eric Manning showed up, and he told the court that he didn't have any evidence, he didn't have any witnesses, that he couldn't go through with it, his exact words, and that he desired to withdraw his representation of me immediately, and that he was sorry that he couldn't. Um, he should have called it like a month earlier, and he professed his sorrow to the court, and he left. And they tried to make me um, go on without attorney, without a replacement. It was ridiculous. It was the most disgusting thing you could even comprehend. I'm an attorney, and I could not believe what I was experiencing. Could not. I still can't. So they tried to tell me that I was going to represent myself, and I said, no, that's not happening. And I left. I was absent. My attorney was absent. My children were absent, and their attorneys were absent. And they supposedly say they conducted a trial without me, and they took my parental rights away based on a civil restraint order that was filed with the divorce, contemporaneously with divorce. Either you could file to get one of the spouses out of the house, or you kind of get a divorce, that type of thing, go live somewhere else. It's a simple mechanism. It used to be called a civil. In the 70s, it was called a civil specific performance decree pending divorce. Then in the 80s, it was called a civil temporary separation agreement pending divorce. Then it was called, still in the same 80s, it was called a temporary separation agreement in lieu of divorce. So they started doing them in lieu of divorce, like when spouses were cheating on each other or something. I don't know. The 80s were pretty wild, I guess, for divorce. And these are all specific performance decrees. They should be very elaborate. They should be required, and they should be where you're talking about bills, and you're talking about parenting, and you're talking about co-parenting, and dinners, and meals, and vacations, and whatever you're gonna. It's same as being married. I mean, in divorce, you got to do the same thing, and in divorce, you got to actually schedule it and agree on it and stick to it. So what Iowa did in 1990 is just absolutely disgusting. They took the civil specific performance decree, which is born out of a Chapter 598 divorce. You get divorced, you have all kinds of different orders that can come, property, anything sounding in tort, property, or contract, you can do. And anyway, they made it into like a checkbox form, and they made it kind of imposter criminal civil restraining orders, which if you attempt under Chapter 708 in Iowa, if you attempt somebody's murder, or you assault them, or you batter them, it could be the case that you have fines and fees and jail and all this stuff, and it could also be the case that you can never go back around with people who you tried to kill, or anyone who's in their house or in their vicinity. You can't go anywhere near them. And for real violence, real domestic violence, this is you may not be able to be around your kids and the woman at the same time, right? You may not be around her at the same time, and so if the kids are with her and you can't be near her, then you can't do that. And that's just assault and battery law. That's attempted murder law. I mean, you're going to have to expect it, that's going to be the case. The other one where it happens is under 709 in Iowa, which is your sex crimes, your child rape, your pedophilia. So you do one of these crimes, then you may not be able to be near the victim, and if the victim happens to be your spouse, and they're at a family reunion or whatever they're doing, whoever's with them and around them, you can't be around them either. You can't say, "Well, I'm here to see Larry or Bob or your kids," because you cannot be around a person that you tried to kill. So that kind of makes sense, right? That makes sense to everybody. What happened to me is conscience shock. I still can't comprehend. Cannot run. And there's so much more after this that you just can't believe. How should I start it out? Well, let's start it this way because this is the big thing that no one seems to know. That corruption is such a problem right now in the United States and Iowa and everywhere because they haven't accurately identified the problem. So I'm going to identify it for you. I'm going to re-identify it for you from 750 BC, from the prophet Isaiah, at chapter 59. Truth has fallen in the street. Truth has stumbled in the public square. No one stands upright for truth and justice anymore. Truth, justice, fairness, and impartiality are lacking. Um, so what can happen when you're a government worker? Um, you can be a commander, you can be an actor, you can be a consenter, or you can be a ratifier. And what a government worker can do, everyone from the janitor to the jailer to the judge, they can all participate in this, in what I'm about to tell you. It's called the Personal Preference Protocol. And there's 4 bundles of operative facts. These 4 bundles of operative facts that I'm about to tell you about are found in every rule of professional responsibility, every tort at common law, or some of those that make it into statute and by crime and falsity and fraud, and every crime um, having to do with falsehood and deceit. So, official misconduct, Chapter 721 in Iowa, obstruction of justice, Chapter 719, and Chapter 714, which is a really big corruption problem in the world, but people don't really think so because it's such a dramatic corruption. And under Chapter 714, that's the diversion of assets. That's the misappropriation of and man hours. So you could have a high-ranking official, government official, who um, commands an entire unit of government to go roof some guy's house or dig a swimming pool. Or alternatively, you could command the entire legal apparatus of the state of Iowa by and through the Story County Attorney's Office to represent your wife or to represent a civil litigant, a private person, in civil litigation born out of Chapter 598 divorce. In Iowa, everywhere in the country, basically, who ratified the Constitution of the United States in Article 3, Section 2, you cannot ever, in our society, cannot ever have a situation where a judge sits in the seat, the government sits in the seat of the judge, and then same government sits in the seat of the civil litigant, the private person, and chooses, I'm going to elevate this person, I'm going to advance this person's interests, I'm going to protect this person's interests, and I'm going to destroy this other citizen over here. I'm going to take everything from him. I'm going to try and kill him. That's what I'm going to do. Today's the pick and choose day. I pick this citizen over that citizen. A county attorney's office district attorney's office, or some cases they're called. You can't. You can't do that. That's not even something that was done. That's not even something that was done in like 1771, 72, 73, 74. Like the King of England didn't even do that. Because what's going to happen if you do that in a society? It's a long time from the year 33 AD when Christ was crucified, died, resurrected, ascended, and poured out. It's a long time between 33 AD and the 1700s. And what happens in every case where a judge, no matter the government, no matter the structure, no matter the anything, if you have the government sitting in the seat of the judge and the government sitting in the seat of the civil plaintiff or representing the civil plaintiff, only bad things happen. And the first thing that happens is revolution and revolt and civil war on day one. I wanted to. Believe me, I wanted to. So they're representing my wife this way. And the real reason is the judge and I know each other from when I was 18. I won my first case in front of him. It's the reason I became a lawyer. Now it's come full circle. I embarrassed the guy. His wife was my French teacher. I burned his kitchen counter in the fall of 1994, making crepes. And then in the spring of 95, I won my first defense case in front of him when he was favoring a lion cop who I caught lion by using old VHS recordings of Matlock. It's a hilarious story. But I don't have time to tell it to you now. But we know each other. And so what this guy's done is he's lost his mind. He's lost his mind. He's treating me like a criminal, like a attempted murder, assault, batterer, like a criminal guy with a 5-year no contact order. And in fact, that's what he gave me. When we were in court, and there's other videos on YouTube where I explain this a lot more and a lot better. But just to pick up, in case you're just watching this one, when we went to hear about the civil restraint provision or living out of the house, he went into his office, took a break, went into his office, ended up reporting me to the bar. I still don't know why. I never had a hearing. I never had a trial. Nothing. He reported me to Crystal Rink and they took my license away. They suspended it, and I haven't heard anything back since. They called down to Arkansas, and they had Arkansas to suspend my license. Arkansas called me right away because they love me and like me, and they're like, "What the hell is going on?" And they're upset. And I'm talking to them, the ACLU in New York, and the American Bar Association to see if I can get the three of them to come together and represent me. I have no problem with it. And just win all these cases on former testimony, party admission, and judicial admissions of all the pleadings and fact pleadings they ignore. Anyway, this guy, he comes back out. We have more trial, more hearing. And my wife had asked for me to be out of the house during the pendency of the divorce, however long it took to get divorced. She didn't say like a year. She didn't say anything. She said, until we're divorced, he has to live and sleep somewhere else. But I want some specific provisions about Travis being with the children. I have 2 children, an older daughter and a younger son. Travis is a primary caregiver right now, and it's important that he have time with them regularly, whatever. So I want you to put that in there. I guess her attorney had told her that things in Iowa had reduced to like a bunch of check boxes, and so her attorney asked for that. He goes into his office and he comes back and he says, "All right, we'll go with 1 year restraint, but Miss Rouse." No, he said, I think he said no contact order. So he was already in crime. He goes, we'll go with 1 year, no contact order. Yeah, no contact order. We'll go with 1 year, no contact order. And then he gets my wife's face to, but Miss Rouse, I want you to know that you will not be allowed to be together with Travis and the children at the same time for 1 year. And my wife lost her mind. She was already sitting back in the gallery. She's got a sense about people. She knows who's good. She knows who's bad. And when I saw her go and sit in the gallery for him to come back out and did not come back up to the table, stayed there, stayed away from him. I think she had a bad thing. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, he said, "You went up." My wife jumps up and runs to the gallery gate there to get into the inside, and she says, "No, no, no, that's not what I wanted. That's not what we wanted." And he goes, Elton goes, "All right then, how's 5 years sound?" Hit his gavel on the table so hard it went flying back behind him. "For 5 years, you will not be able to be together with Travis and the children at the same time." After that was complete mayhem. My wife was calling my brother. She was violating that order to hell and back, and she was like, "We're not." And they put me in jail. And one thing leads to another. What ends up happening is Ellison didn't have jurisdiction to hear that case for a lot of reasons. He didn't have any power and authority. He didn't have justiciability. For one thing, my wife's pleading, in and of itself, wasn't filed in good faith, wasn't filed for a good cause. And, she said things like, Travis doesn't wear his bicycle helmet consistently when riding bikes with the kids. Travis doesn't put on his seatbelt in the garage or in the driveway, but until he gets down the road a piece, as is his habit and custom. And I mean, it was ridiculous. I knew she was drunk. I know my wife. When she was putting all this together, she was hammered on red wine, guaranteed. And when she was on the stand and I was asking her about the bicycle helmets and the seatbelts, I said, "Are you drinking when you wrote this?" And Judge Ellison goes, "Don't answer that. Do not answer that." Puts his hand out in front of her like protecting a kid in a car, and like interrupts her. And then after I showed that it had no good faith, and she needed to go back and try it again, that this isn't what this type of restraint in Iowa is for. You can't lie for it, basically. And what most judges will do is they'll say, to a woman, they'll say, "You need to go back out and take another crack at this. This isn't gonna. I don't have justiciability. I don't have the power and authority to hear a fraud. I can't get truth out of a fraud. I have no jurisdiction." The other reason he didn't have jurisdiction was power and authority. Was because in Iowa, when you have one of these temporary restraining orders put against you, you have to have a hearing in 15 days, or it's you got to start over again. And it had been 20. And I know him from my childhood. I embarrassed him in a courtroom when I was 18. I know his wife. His wife was my teacher. I think he goes to church with. Heather's parents are used to it, the Methodist Church in Marshalltown where we got married. And what else? There's so many things that disqualified him. Oh yeah, her Heather and her mother. Heather had been filing civil restraint against her uncle who has autism. He's a high level autistic, but he can't put himself in other people's shoes and walk around a little bit like Atticus Finch. He can't do it. So and their mother was the grandmother was about to die, and the farm was to be inherited, and all they were going to do is the same thing that all farmers do, is just keep renting the land out like you have been, and just split the money up. That's it. There was no real worry that that this guy was going to do anything or could do anything, but they were just kind of ornery and rotten and I don't know, just kind of judgmental. And the guy's got up to. I mean, he can't help it. And so anyway, oh, you know. So Heather wrote those. Heather wrote three of them, I think, three. And instead of just filing for contempt of the one, they kept filing. Guess who the judge was? Oh, the judge. And her uncle. I've been talking to her uncle. Her uncle will testify and all that stuff. And anyway, yeah, it's just really something. He had no business doing that. And then and then when he went from 1 year to 5, first of all, he should have never been saying you can't be with your kid. That's crazy. In a civil, you want the opposite to be happening. You want the kids to be. You want everyone. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. For me, even if I did embarrass him when I was 18, and that story is funny, but I wasn't trying to embarrass him. The only reason he was embarrassed or upset was because he was favoring a cop who got caught lying on the stand in a gigantic lie, and that's the only reason he could be upset is he was upset about that. I don't know, and the courtroom was full; they were all laughing. But other than that, I don't I can't tell you how this is done. I mean, if you're in a civil case and you don't have jurisdiction and you did it intentionally, like you knew you didn't have jurisdiction and you intentionally adjudicated the unjusticiable subject matter because of because of all those reasons I just gave you, like 7 of them, you can call it back. I mean, you're a judge. You can do anything in the interest of you can do anything in the interest of justice. Yeah, I felt that one. I'm gonna agree well with that. We're just civil litigants. We can do anything. Um, so yeah, so that was just crazy. And I think about Ephesians 6:12. I hear a lot lately about we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities in high places, evil places. And what's this is the most evil thing I've ever heard of. My losses and my damages are off the charts. You've never seen anything like it. Haven't heard anything. I've been in jail longer than Jack Ruby. Jack Ruby, the guy who shot Lee Harvey Oswald in the stomach in Dallas in November 1963. Yeah. Anyway, so it just keeps going on, and this false case, this false civil restraint case, is being used now to say, "Oh, you've been away from your kids too long. You've been wrongfully jailed. You've had all your rights deprived of you by the government. So now we're going to take your parental rights away." And I think this is really just to keep me busy, like focused on the kids, focused on the kids, focused on this case, and not suing them. Here, shiny, chase this. Yo, what? We'll keep you going for years on this. And I'm kind of at the point now where I'm getting ready to quit all that. In this parental rights case, the fraud is great. The fraud is really great, and so I'm getting ready to call a guardian ad litem who was appointed. Her name's Julia Steggerda-Corey. Her uncle Todd Steggerda was a trade regulations lawyer, and he's representing the United States now in Switzerland in Geneva. I forget what the whole title, the long title, but he's a pretty bright guy, and he's representing the United States in Geneva, Switzerland. And she's a law school professor in Baltimore, Maryland, and she's been asked to teach to be the guardian ad litem for my kids and to interview my kids and to interview me. And she lives in she lives in Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm just like I told you, like I told you. My cases, these cases are conscience shuffling. So we're gonna call her right now. Hello, Miss Steggerda. How are you? My name is Travis Starr. I'm calling from Iowa. I sent you an email yesterday about my case about being a guardian ad litem for my children. And I wanted to just kind of pick your brain a little bit about how you got involved with being a guardian ad litem and kind of where things stand now. I'm really just kind of in search of truth. I mean, that's just all it is. You haven't done anything wrong, I am sure, and I'm just kind of reaching out to you to to have someone talk to me. I'm in a lot of danger with my rights, and I'm really just kind of looking for some help. Looking for some truth, honesty, and just a little tiny bit of Christian compassion, or Jewish compassion, or Islamic compassion. Any kind of compassion will do. Um, so yeah, so please give me a call back at this number 641-481-7008. I look forward to hearing from you. Bye. So yeah, so I emailed the chief judge and I emailed a lot of people. There is one other thing I want to tell you about. The state of Iowa has um, recently contracted with Amazon and another company I can't think of off the top of my head, but they do a lot of government work, particularly with the FBI, particularly with the CIA, Office of Policy Coordination, and they just run the IT. They run the IT. Iowa, a lot of people don't know this. Iowa is steeped in information technology history, like inventing the computer, inventing the microchip, and the founder of Intel. And it's pretty steep. You know, Iowans know a lot about information technology. There probably is no information technology without the Iowans. But anyway, so they have a third party doing it. And I've tried to get a hold of a lot of oversight agents, and they've not been getting back. And I'm suspicious of the fact of certainly anyone with an iowa.gov or variation thereof email address that they blocked me from talking to them. They just isolated, took my email and just maybe blocked from the whole government. I don't know what this, but I think that's happening. And whether or not someone here in the IT division is capable of doing, of course they're capable of doing that. I mean, I'm not a computer guy, but I know that all of my IT guys I've worked with know how to do all of that. And so certainly they can do it. And whether they're doing it as the government or whether they're doing it, their third parties doing it. The thing that scares me about this third party stuff is, I mean, there's no oversight. There's no oversight. It's literally in Iowa. It's written into the law. There's no oversight, and that's dangerous because they could be surveilling anything, doing anything, preventing anything. You know, here I got all these rights rape cries, you know, behind the dumpster, and no one can hear my cries. They're blocking, and I feel certain there's some of that going on, and so I got to deal with that too. Just I got to deal with that too. I mean, I suppose you know he decides the unjusticiable subject matter. He decides the unjusticiable subject matter, and just creates more and more official misconduct, more and more obstruction of justice. I'm not going to go into all of it, but just all of it had to do with concealing and concealing the harm and suppressing the truth of it, and it just made for more trouble. And now, and I now that I think about it, I don't know if I even covered with you the personal preference protocol. That's the cause of all of this corruption I'm rambling about. I really wanted to get a hold of Steggerda. I was nervous, and so I was talking, filling in about my case a little bit. Okay, now let's call Steggerda, who's been appointed on this very important case that has all this gigantic, conscience-shocking corruption, and they're supposedly ordering new trials instead of just reversing the case and saying, no, we're not going to let you do it. It's dismissed, and we're going to prosecute you, the judge who did that, had a trial without the kids, had a trial without Travis, had a trial without any attorneys, denied Travis an attorney, denied the kids an attorney, and then had a trial to take its parental rights away. We're gonna dismiss the case, and we're gonna prosecute you for crime, for obstruction of justice, for official misconduct. 721, 719, 5 years apiece. You can't do that to You can't do that to an innocent man and his children. They did that to my children. You don't think my children are needing me? It's insane. But anyway, the personal preference protocol works like this. And if I told you already, that's fine. I'm gonna tell you again because this is where the problem is solved. This is where the problem is accurately identified. These government workers come in and they act as commanders, actors, ratifiers, consenters, and ratifiers. And they ignore truth. They ignore rights. They ignore duty to protect rights. Their duty to protect rights of others. They ignore law. They ignore the operative facts that give rise to the law. Real quickly, guardians ad litems in Iowa are assigned to only one child. Each child gets their own guardian ad litem. And they each have to do interviews with everybody. They have done interviews. I don't think they even exist. I don't even think the guardians ad litems even know anything about the case or the kids. I don't think so. So that's number one. Ignore everything. Number two, you assert your own personal preference prompted by your own private desire. All right, we're gonna go with 1 year no contact, which is incorrect. It's not a criminal case; it's a civil case. We're gonna go with 1 year no contact, and you can't be together with Travis and the children at the same time. That's not the law. That's not civil law. You would never do that to a parent and child. All right, how's 5 years sound? None of that needs none of that is compliant with the law. None of that is ensuring fairness. None of that is even sane. To me, it's almost demonic that someone was intervened, or influenced by sin, Satan, to do something like that. It's just crazy. So, second is if you assert your own preference prompted by your own private desire. 2, 3, you set out intending to injure someone and you actually injure them. That happened. 4, you conceal the harm and you suppress the truth of intention. Those are the 4 bundles of operative facts. And that's the origin source of all corruption. It might even be the template for sin. It might even be like the precursor to pride, which puts you on to all the other sin. But when you go through law as a lawyer and you're looking at operative fact bundles, like what's present, what's absent, do I have specific intent? Do I have general intent? Do I have, what are all the parts of this crime? What are all the parts of this tort? Operative fact bundle. And you'll find that those 4 operative fact bundles, all or a portion, are what you find in every rule of professional responsibility, judges' duties to do things, and every tort and every crime. Those 4 things are going on in every one of them. And so how we solve that is we got to have oversight in all of our states. The oversight agents should be housed underneath the legislative branch, not the executive branch, not the judicial branch, because they're the ones who are hurting it. They need to be in the separate branch of government, which is in the legislative branch, and they need to have enough of them where they can be effective. I would put probably 3 people, 3 lawyers, or 1 lawyer and 2 supporters in every judicial district that you have in your state. And they'll handle that judicial district. 3 people will handle that judicial district. Support staff too, but yeah, you got to have oversight. And then what you do is the whole goal is to help each other. Do not ignore truth. Do not ignore rights. Do not ignore your duty to protect rights. Do not ignore the law. Do not ignore the operative facts to give right. Do not assert your own personal preference prompted by your own private desire. Ever. Follow the law. It's not what you want to do. Do not set out trying to hurt someone and actually hurt someone. Do not conceal the harm and suppress the truth of intentional injury. You don't do that, it's kind of hard to have corruption. If you do that, it's corruption city. And the personal preference protocol is out of control. And that's that. And I'm probably not going to get to talk to this Steggerda lady. And we'll make another video shorter. Something we'll call Miss Julie Roth, Sarah Julie Rothman.